Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Random. Egberto, Willies, your host. Thank you so kind for being a part of the show. We are going to be having a great time today. We got a lot to talk about. Hey, I see El Senor Patrick Magner is back. I sent you a little note earlier saying, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. And if I don't hear from our PDR posse regulars every so often, I like to go give a little checkup and make sure all is good. So glad to see that you're here, brother Patrick Magner. E2247 is in the house. Welcome, E2247. Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. Eric Hayes from Kingwood, Texas. Kingwood, Atascocita. E2247 from all over. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. We also have in the house Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York, and Yvette Avery Herod, or beautiful Yvette from Atlanta, Georgia. How are my peeps doing? Melanie Keelan is also in the house from Barcelona, Spain. So we are represented all over the place. Anyway, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Michael Rudnin says democracy in South Korea was tested and the people didn't surrender in advance. It can be predicted that the same thing will happen here in 2026. Will our own people rise up as well? France 24, South Korea's day of rage as Yoon's martial law founders. South Koreans took to the streets Wednesday for a day of rage, laser focus on President Yoon Suk Yeol, whose failed attempt at imposing martial law sparked anger and dismay in the vibrant democracy. And we are going to have to prove that we can do that again, because Donald Trump looked at that in detail and he's like, wow, that I can do that too. And maybe my MAGA, the Brotherhood, will come and help me. And the white nationalists will come and help me. And just maybe we'll succeed. Fat chance. Don't try it, Trump, because they're waiting for you. We're prepared for you. Michael Rudin also says, Egberto for the screen. Let's see what we got here for the screen. National Popular Vote. Thank you for keeping us up to date on that, my brother. Let's go ahead and let it be known once again, as I preached this morning on my show at KPFT 90.1 FM. Donald Trump did not get the majority of the vote with the last congressperson assigned to Congress now. And just about every vote counted. Donald Trump got less than 50% of the vote. Therefore, it says that more than, hear this, more people wanted somebody else than they did want Trump. And let's go a little bit further than that. Trump's win over Harris was less than 3 million people to be on. Let me go ahead and I tell you what, do that calculation for me there, brother Rudnin. What is the difference? Is the difference down there? Let us know what the difference is. 2-point-something thousand people. It's a shame, right? So this guy thinks he's going to effect big changes in America when he couldn't even get half the vote of the country. Come on, you better start talking about coalition, and Democrats better play hardball here. I mean, let them play hardball. He does not have a mandate. He does not have a mandate at all. All right, Michael Rudnin also said Trump's popular vote margin dips again, now down to 49.79%. In other words, George Bush, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden all performed better. It's not only that they performed better. Sir. Let's give the right perspective on that. It's also that even when Hillary Clinton lost to Trump, she got more votes than Trump win over Kamala Harris. And let's also point out that Kamala Harris got more votes than Trump win in 2016. Think about that. Kamala Harris' vote total is greater than Trump's vote total when he won in 2016. Shame on us for having not showed up to vote in the numbers that we should have come out to vote, because we know we don't support this thug in chief. We know we don't support this thug in chief. All right, continuing with our show. We also have Belly of the Ranch. Bo of the Fifth Column has a follow-up after the show. First one talks about Trump's planning to take 3 away from the Republicans to fill the White House position. Second one talks about just what happened in South Korea. I'll take a look at that. And let's see what else we got here. CA 13 House goes to the Democrats. I spoke about that already. Let's see. Gunman waiting on him in the hotel. Breaking news, the CEO of healthcare. Look, I don't believe in killing. I don't believe in shooting. But I tell you something. If these insurance companies continue to, and I don't know the reason or anything, right? But I have a few hunches about what's going on, given what that company does to people. But again, it should never be done, but I have hunches. All right, let's see what else we've got here. France government collapses again after prime minister forced out. Well, what can I say? The left and the right got together to get him out. Now we probably have to get a new election. I don't know what the policy is there. Gene Daigle is in the house, and Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. Gene Daigle from, I think from South Texas, near the ocean, but I can't remember where. I think it's, I can't remember where, but I know who you are, my brother. All right, Gene Daigle says half of the people that voted, how many people that could have voted registered did not vote? It's a shame, right? Paul Fleming says if Trump makes cuts to Medicaid, Texas officials could seize the opportunity to further slash the program. State leaders have shown a decades-long antipathy towards the health insurance program. If Trump makes severe reductions, it's unlikely leaders would have the political will to make up any loss in federal funds. Well, again, Texas didn't accept the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, so it won't hurt Texas as much as it'll hurt Louisiana, who actually took it on. So we'll see. Lee Grant said, hello, Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas is in the house as well. Paul Fleming says hundreds of thousands of Texas families have waited months for state process for Medicaid application despite a federal requirement to do so in 45 days. We don't follow rules here in Texas. Lee Grant says the left continues to write in the wake of Trump's election. Schenck went on to Tim Pool the other day. What a country. Well, he went on Tim Pool. Why shouldn't he go on Tim Pool? Although Tim Pool is a crook, right? We know he lies a lot. We know that he was paid, but we won't go there. All right, let's see what else we got here. Paul Fleming Sr. says pharma companies spend more on marketing than on research and development, but they'll tell you drug prices are about innovation. Look, the innovation argument for capitalism is a fraud because the people who innovate aren't the one who makes the millions, okay? Let's remember that. The people who innovate are not the ones who make the millions. But look, I want to play an interview I did a while back about healthcare in Norway. I got to step away from the mic for a minute here. So let's go ahead and get that played, and I will be right back to the program. This is about a 20-minute video, very important video. I want you guys to check it out, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I have recently I've been doing stories, talking to people about their real stories occurring with their healthcare, how it's handled in different places. And luckily, yesterday I received an email from Jonathan Hall in Stavanger, Norway. I hope I said that right, Jonathan.
That sounds right.
And he had a story, and I asked him to come on to Politics Done Right to tell us a little bit about that. So, Jonathan, first of all, you are from the United States of America. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And what blew you over to Europe, to Norway?
Okay. Well, that's another story. But in 1984, in the beginning of November of 1984, we had an election in the United States. I was working in Kentucky, in my hometown there, Lexington. And, that Wednesday, man, I looked at that big map with all those red states on it. And I said, the hell with this. I can't work with these people. I'm just gonna run. And I hung around to Thanksgiving, and then I was gone.
Also, you are braver than most. A lot of people felt that way, and they decided to just, some were able to leave, and lucky you were able to get out and do what you wanted to do. But anyhow, one of the issues that I speak a whole lot about is Medicare for all. I speak a lot about healthcare. And what we find here is that we have a healthcare system that I consider very evil, but most Americans have a tendency to believe that this is the best you have. This is the best one can expect. I was happy to hear from you because you have a story to tell. So what I would love for you to do is to tell us your story with healthcare in Norway, where you're at right now.
Okay. I've lived in Norway for 32, almost 33 years now. And the healthcare that I have received myself has been excellent. Fortunately, thankfully, I haven't had any serious problems myself, but I've been in the hospital once and for an appendicitis, and it was fixed, and I was there for several days. They wouldn't let me out until they were absolutely sure that everything was fixed. This is 15, 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago, our son, who was 17 at the time, got in a motorcycle accident. He had, as a result of that, he had massive brain trauma. And they put him in an induced coma. Mm-hmm. He was in an induced coma for about 6 weeks. After that, most of that time was in the ICU. Then after that, there were several weeks when he was recovering before that he was actually starting to get a few words, starting to talk again and learn how to talk, learn how to walk. Then he was in rehabilitation in the nearby city of Bergen, a specialist rehabilitation center for trauma victims with a complete physical rehabilitation, physical therapy, speech therapy, manual therapy, with just a whole team of specialists looking after him. Mm-hmm. Wonderful people, amazing health professionals doing all this work around him pretty much 24 hours a day. Mm-hmm. The point, I guess, is that this was free. We didn't pay anything for any of this. And I don't know how to get that reality across to you, to your viewers. I can't put it any more simply than that. And one thing is even more important than that is that it was simple. There was nobody to deal with except for health professionals. They looked at the patient. When you go to a doctor here, well, as I said in my email earlier, I didn't have to sign my name until several weeks after this was all over, when I was applying for a reimbursement for some travel expenses. Then they wanted me to fill out some forms. So
let me ask you this. Here it is that your son got taken care of free of charge. Well, we know it's not really free of charge. Everybody pays into the system because you pay taxes, but that is how it's done. So what you're telling me now is you even got reimbursed for the travel that you had to do to take care of your son.
Right, back and forth to the hospital and the rehabilitation center, several trips, both me and his mother. Sure, nothing's free. Everybody knows that. I'm not going to try to fool you or put out some kind of utopian bull. thing. Of course, we pay taxes. They're moderate. It costs. Life is expensive, but I get back to this, and we could go into the details about the taxes and stuff here. I compared it with people I've talked to in the United States, and they said, "Oh, well, that's not too bad."
Because what is amazing, Jonathan, is a lot of people don't realize if you have to have insurance, right? Because you want to make sure you're taken care of, and your insurance is costing you $15,000 a year, which is pretty inexpensive here in the United States. That is effectively another $15,000 a year tax you're paying anyway.
Right.
The only difference is that it's going to a whole lot of rich fat cats who who skim that to make a few people profits. You don't have that in Norway.
Right. Like I was saying, when you deal with a health professional here, the guy looks you in the eye and he says, "Okay, I have some bad news for you. This is a medical crisis that is going to change your life in drastic ways." Or he looks at you. He looks you in the eye and he says, "This is a problem. This is an appendicitis. We can fix this. We've done it 1,000 times. You're going to be in the hospital a few days." But what he doesn't do is he doesn't say, "Here's all these forms to fill out. Who is your insurer? Who is your provider? Who is, are we approved by your insurance company? Who's paying for this?" It's just not there. And that's the beauty of the system. Not how much it costs. It's cheaper. As I put in my mail, I looked up these figures. 17.8% of the United States GDP is used on health care. In Norway, it's 10.4%.
You know what is interesting? Before you said that, Jonathan, what I'd like folks to understand, because I'm an engineer by training before I turned political activist, and all I believe in are numbers. And the interesting thing is a difference in those numbers, because you have to admit, let's say people in Norway and America, they are, of similar health. Of course, Norway probably healthier because better healthcare. But that differential that you see in GDP is exactly the amount of money you could calculate is extracted to enrich the few that controls a medical industrial complex. It's amazing.
Yeah. What do they do to deserve all of these profits?
Right.
I don't know. So that's our situation here. It's been like this since 1910, I think. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter, of course, that your health care is part of what you pay for when you make this contract with society. That I'm going to go to work, pay taxes, and when I go to the doctor, when my neighbor goes to the doctor, even if I'm healthy all my life, when my neighbor goes to the doctor, I can go over to him and take him a box of candy and say, "Get well soon." I don't have to worry about him losing his house. It's
what I think you mentioned that Michael Moore was over there and the system was so good. He didn't put it into his film Sicko because he think it would be unbelievable. Many people wouldn't believe that a system could be created that is that good.
I saw this somewhere, and I haven't had a chance to look it up again. I think you'd probably find it on YouTube. He did an extra report from Norway as a kind of addendum or appendix to Sicko. Mm-hmm. So it's it's whatever. It's a 5-minute report that didn't go into the film. Mm-hmm. The system here is more streamlined and cheaper and easier than in a lot of countries.
Now, did your son have to wait in a waiting room at all when he had that emergency?
No, it was right into. He was way out in the wilderness. we live in some of the most beautiful scenic country in the world. It's just amazing. And he was out in a place where it's kind of hard to get to. So they took him from the top of this road. They took him in an ambulance to a nearby village where he was transported by helicopter to the hospital.
And how much did the helicopter cost you?
What?
That's my point. I was being funny because over here, when they live flight you, you're talking about $8,000 to $10,000. Right.
I don't know how you deal with it. I honestly don't. I was fairly young when I moved. I was pretty much just out of school, and I'd been working for a couple of years, but I hadn't really started on an adult life. I hadn't been dealing with all of these real problems that you all do. But when I talk to somebody there who has gone through some of this, and they start talking about co-pays and providers and terms that I don't know anything about, I'm just like, you want to go to a doctor and you want to look them in the eye and say, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my body? What is this that's affecting my family? How are we going to deal with this? You don't want to go in there and start talking about insurance.
Well, let me just tell you, my daughter just had a stroke 2 weeks ago. She's 20.
Yeah, I heard about that, and I hope that
she's
works out.
She's doing much better than any of us would have expected, and in fact, she went to her first class less than 2 weeks after her stroke. She's still half blind in the eye, but my daughter is a trooper. She is a trooper.
Yeah.
But the thing about it, Jonathan, why I also wanted your story is you make it quite clear that you have an acquaintance that died at 50 years old in the United States. Tell us a story.
Well, the story is that you grow up with these people, and I've known this guy since I was 18 or so. We went to school together, and we worked together. We played in a band together. We worked at the theater together, and he was such a charming guy and so funny and so full of life and amusement and love of life. And he had some what started out as just minor health problems. He got some problems with his kidneys, and that didn't get taken care of because, as I put in my email, I said that he was a musician. I guess you would call it an itinerant musician. He worked from day to day. He was always on the fringes of what we would call an adult employment situation. And over the years, he got his treatment in emergency rooms.
Right.
He couldn't afford to go anywhere else. So they would send him home as soon as they could. They would say, no, we can't treat this. We can give you something for the pain. We can put a plaster on it, but you don't put a plaster on, advanced, kidney stones and later on kidney failure that was treated in the emergency room. And with, I don't know about the admittance to the hospital at that time, but, it was just a complete fuck up. Mm-hmm. How can you deal with this? Without having just huge resources. So he, a couple of years before he died, there were several of us who realized how bad it was because he wasn't complaining about this. He was just going and fixing things up as best he could. And, we took up a collection. I don't know if it was together, it was a couple of $1,000s or something, but it was really nothing. And it was too little, too late. It was a couple of years later that somebody called me up and said, look, Matt went into the emergency room last night, and while we were waiting there, he had some kind of seizure, and they couldn't save him. So it's the wrong kind of treatment to give to a patient.
Our system kills, and that's what I'm trying to express, Jonathan, to our audience is that we have a medical system that is not only corrupt, it's not only evil, it's not only immoral, but it actually kills. And people know that.
Unhealthy, at least.
Yes. And people that run this system know that they're just using the people as income sources as opposed to trying to help them heal. I'm talking about those on the top. I'm not talking about the doctors. I'm not talking about the nurses. These are wonderful people, most of them. But the system just doesn't work. Look, in closing, what I want to talk to you about is, first of all, have you been back to the United States recently, or?
I was there last time in October of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
And I was there in time to see the last debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And I realized that, we were in real danger of having this guy elected. It was a shocking experience. I wasn't just in rural Kentucky that time. I was also in New Orleans,
right,
and Los Angeles. So I had, I got to see. I got some pleasure out of the trip as well.
Okay.
But sure, it's spooky to go back, and I'll be going back in a few weeks, and. I hope that, I wish everybody there the best. I think that America is so full of wonderful, amazing people.
Yes.
And they deserve better.
Yes.
And they deserve a democracy. They deserve to have one vote count, one vote, one person count. Not all of this rigmarole like we've had in Iowa, like we have with the
Electoral College.
I still vote. I'm going to vote in the global primary in the beginning of March, Super Tuesday.
So you will be voting, yeah.
I'll be voting in November, of course.
Well, let me tell you, Jonathan, I am going to post your videos and this interview, let people know what can be. And I am going to be doing a whole lot of these to ensure that we let Americans know that there's a better way. What we have here is a mainstream media that tries its best not to inform as they should. I mean, all our media have the ability to come out to Norway, to go to Sweden, to go to all these countries that have similar systems where people are taken care of. That our media don't do that, tells us that it's a whole plutocracy that no matter what party is running, somehow they stick together to ensure that we have this corrupt, evil, and immoral healthcare system. Thank you so kindly, Jonathan Hall. Some final words that you'd like to say.
Well, power to the people, just keep working, keep fighting, and take care of yourselves through all of this, corruption. We still live in a beautiful world, and we need to take care of each other.
Jonathan Hall from...
Thank you very much, Egberto.
Muchas gracias from Stavanger, Norway. You have a wonderful day, sir. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
I mean, that when you hear how good things could be if you had people worth their salt, right? But we have such evil people. A guy this morning said, "Why do I hate America?" He didn't say it quite in those words, but that's what he implied. I don't. And he's like, "Why? Why do you speak?" I said, "You're saying that capitalism take advantage of people, or that our economic system take advantage of people." And I said, "Yeah." And I want that to change. That doesn't mean I hate the place. That means I love the place and I want the place to work. But capitalism is an enslaver. It takes away it takes away the worth of the people who actually create the wealth and create the innovation. Earlier somebody mentioned about innovation up top. Innovation isn't created by the billionaires in this country at all. Elon Musk created nothing. Bill Gates created nothing. Well, Bill Gates is a bit better than Elon Musk in that Bill Gates actually used to know how to do some programming in BASIC, etc. And he does have a bit of knowledge comparatively, but the real knowledge comes from those people you don't hear about. You sit down and look at the billionaire and think those are the guys who have it. And it's not the case. And a lot of times it's hard to let people know how that definitely is the case, because the myth that we create around guys like the creator of Apple, Jobs and Wozniak, the myth that we create around Bill Gates, a myth that we create around, let's look at Warren Buffett. I like Warren Buffett. These are decent guys. Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. These are nice guys working in a corrupt system of not their creation, but they just work it, right? But you look at even somebody like Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett buys and sells companies and makes bets on companies. That's where he makes his billions. But he doesn't lift a finger to innovate on trains, all the railroads that he owns, all the hotels that he owns, right? None of that. Those are things. I try to explain this to the MAGA guy that I interviewed yesterday. I'm like, we need a modification in our economic system that rewards those people that are, directors of companies that know how to gather people together for a goal. But that's what engineers do. Let me give an example. I'm going to use people right now in this chat. My brother here from another mother, Bruce Pollard, is a scientist. Okay. And we have a couple of other scientists in this place. My brother knows specifically about something, and he knows it better than anybody else. Myself and Norman, we are engineers. We don't know as much on any particular subject. In other words, for what Brother Bruce Pollard knows about chemistry, I know just enough to build something with. But he knows the intricacy of chemistry. Now, I know engineers learn enough of the sciences, of all the different sciences, so that they can actually go ahead and put things together to create something that people work with. So the guy who creates a car doesn't necessarily know everything about thermodynamics, doesn't necessarily know everything about friction or the reversing, getting back the electricity from breaking a car. We have the experts who only know those things because they invest the time in knowing those things. And then the engineer puts it all together to make a useful product for people. So they all have their purposes, right? Bruce could not build everything that I build. I could not know the specificity of the thing that Bruce created out of his knowledge of science. All of us have our tools. But on top of, so the engineer makes something useful that we can have all these products that we buy. But you know what the capitalist is? The capitalist is the one who says, I don't know any of that. I just know that I can be a parasite. Whereas I take Bruce's science and I take John Peter's science and I take all these different scientific knowledges that I learned in school because of what they've discovered. They've put it into a way that I just know it exists. They proved it, but I know it exists. And I build products around that. And I create something useful for society. What business schools teach you to do is they teach you how do you take somebody else, what somebody else has created, and not create something new out of it, but just sell it and make most of the profit on it. So when I speak about capitalism being a parasitic economic structure, I am not just saying that out of spite or pity or whatever. I'm saying the secretary adds value because the secretary adds value, the janitor adds value. The capitalist that uses everybody else's work to add value is a special kind of parasite. Let's give an example. If Walmart is working fine, let's use Toys R Us. If Toys R Us are buying their toys, selling it, making a profit, and paying their people. Okay? Think about that. Paying their people. And some capitalist comes in and says, wait a minute, I can make some money out of Toys R Us. He does nothing for Toys R Us. He doesn't add any value to Toys R Us. What he sees in Toys R Us is a way to make somebody some money and create nothing in the process. So he borrows money on against Toys R Us. Okay? And after he makes money, he sticks all that money into his pocket and the pockets of his investors, and then asks the employees to take cuts and take the buildings, etc., take all the cash out of that to pay folks that did absolutely nothing. All right? So when I talk about capitalism being a parasitic structure, I am not saying that out of something that's not true. I can prove with the examples that I've just given you exactly how parasitic it is. I prove that the innovation comes from the research, from the scientists and the engineers, and that we need the secretaries to run the paperwork and all of that, and we need the janitors to keep the place clean. All these things are important. Okay? Eric Hayes just proved my point, and yes, you can call me. Eric Hayes proved my point, and he doesn't even know it with what he just placed. You can call me right now, Patrick Magner. So it is important that you understand that there is no benevolency from capitalism. They would tell you that because they like that structure. But like I said before, the solution is free enterprise at the top, social democracy on the bottom. Under free enterprise, capitalism for those people who want to engage in that fraud. All right. My dear brother Magner, please turn that down so that we don't get that double talk, my brother. But how are you doing, sir?
Tired, but doing good. How are you?
I am doing fine. I hadn't heard from you in a while, so I sent you an email and I said, hey, where is brother Magner? I want to make sure you're okay. Actually, that's all I was checking.
It was very thoughtful of you, and I appreciated having it. I had no time off, no days off from work from I believe it was the 10th to Thanksgiving. We're working 12 and 13 hours.
Oh, wow. I feel for you, my brother. I feel for you. But anyway, talk to me, sir.
Okay. Well, Toys R Us was liquidated, to answer Eric Hayes, it was liquidated by, was it Gary?
Baines Capital. It was Baines Capital, I believe.
Yes. Yeah. So they spun it as people were changing their purchasing habits and things like that, but it wasn't. They sold off real estate and systematically closed all the stores, laid people off. Kids don't go onto Amazon to go shopping. Kids want to go into a store and touch and hold toys. They want to play with them. Toys R Us was the better model, but it was sabotaged. But that's not why I wanted to call. As far as that healthcare goes, what I like to explain to a lot of people is that it's a kind of a double way to extract wealth from the underclass. Not only are they making money on our illness, but we are more dependent on a stable economy than very rich people are. If I lose 10 or 15% of my income, I don't make it, but they're just fine. And now the reason why I say that, or the reason why I bring it up, is we don't want people getting sick. We want a social medical system so that people can stay at work and continue working to contribute to the economy. There's a huge loss from sick days in the economy. Not only that, a social medical system will have people live a higher quality of life, fewer disabilities, and a longer life. So they're around to consume more, which drives the economy. And they're traveling. When they retire, they're going to go and spend their money vacationing, which is another way of moving money from one macro economy to another. It's in our best interest, not only from a health standard, but from a living standard, to have a social medical system, because if people can't stay healthy or they can't afford to go to the doctor, they're out of work longer. And then they're also more often dependent on other welfare systems because of that.
One of the problems, Patrick, is, first of all, being a business person doesn't require any high degree of critical thinking. Because, again, remember, the things that are done critically are the things people have to do. So, I mean, I don't expect any of that critically thinking from the business class. And it's for that reason when I hear things like we need to run the government like a company, it just shows how lack of critical thinking there. The government is one place that should not operate like a business. And secondly, you are correct that it's better to keep people healthy for productivity, etc. But that's not how the business people think. And not only that, one of the reasons they like a certain level of unemployment is because if some people get too sick and they let them go, they'll always have a supply of jobs available. That's why they don't like very tight employment. If you ask any businessman, he loves unemployment rates that are moderate. And the reason he wants the unemployment rate that's moderate, people still spending, but when he needs to hire somebody, he can hire them on the cheap. So it's amazing, right?
Yeah, if there's a surplus of workers, then that keeps wages down. If more people are working and fewer are unemployed, then that puts power in the employee's hand and takes it out of the employers. Now, there are several things that you've said in this show, and I wanted to touch on each of them. And I'm not trying to change the subject, but you probably, in my mind, I've equated serfdom and capitalism. And I have a hard time articulating that, but a pile of money is essentially what a large plot of land was to a lord. Mm-hmm. And the lord didn't do anything and didn't produce anything. He had land which entitled him to workers. Now, a capitalist has a pile of money which entitles him to workers. Mm-hmm. The shortcoming, or maybe even the advantage of serfdom, was at least I was provided a house.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the reasons I call capitalism antiseptic slavery is because that's what it is, right? And, when people who looked like me, Patrick, were slaves, at least, you had to be fed and clothed because you were property. And, the one thing Americans want to keep is their capital. So slaves were the master's capital. And that's why they had to keep them alive. And the ones that they killed was an investment to tell the others, don't you try this, because this is what would happen to you. It's amazing. Continue, my brother.
As far as Norwegian quality of life, to work at McDonald's there gets you close to what I make an hour here, and I'm educated. They're making $23 or $24 an hour, and they are have benefits, and they're not paying for
healthcare.
Healthcare. And so everybody's saying, "Oh, well, they're paying high taxes. They're paying high taxes." Well, they're paying high taxes, but then it runs through the economy from government spending, and it ends back up in their pocket. And
but it's deeper than that. To interrupt you a second, it's deeper than that, because if we are paying a lot more taxes, but ours are shaded, right? When you buy health insurance at $1,000 something a month or whatever, that is like paying an extra $12,000-$15,000 in taxes every year. But it doesn't count that way, right? Because we're just giving it to it's a private company collecting that tax. Sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead, brother.
No, interrupt anytime. I agree with you totally. There are a lot of quote unquote taxes that we pay that other countries actually call them taxes, and we just call them things like insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And
exactly,
since if a government is in charge of that instead of a private corporation, it won't be taken from you. Sooner or later, people are not going to be able to move places because they're not going to be writing policies for them because of storms and fires and things like that. FEMA does condemn some areas, but they pay fair market price for it, and they help the other people leave. That's a corporation doesn't hand it that way.
Hey,
have you talked,
Patrick? I got another video that's 9 minutes. So I don't have much time, so close her up real quick for me.
I'll call tomorrow probably.
Okay, let's finish the talk tomorrow. But I really want you to see this video, so we'll talk tomorrow. All right, Patrick?
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Peace. All right, folks, I want you to listen to this video. I think you are going to like it. I want you guys to listen to what this young man has to say. I think he's out of Great Britain. I mean, many of our MAGA brothers and sisters believe that they are sticking it to the libs. They believe that the election of Donald Trump, as flawed as he is, not only flawed, but degenerate as he is, the evil that he represents, the thievery, the abuse of women, the stolen, all the things that you think by electing him, you have just stuck it to these libs, right? Not realizing that the people who voted for Donald Trump needs government more than those who didn't. Well, let's be clear here. 50.2% of Americans did not vote for Trump. In other words, Trump once again got into office without most of Americans saying, "We want you." Let's make that cook for a while. He got into the presidency without most of the Americans saying, "We want you." So he is still, while a constitutional president, an unpopular president. And again, we need to point out that with this victory and the changes he claims he wants to make and the kinds of people that he's putting into office, he represents a clear and present danger to America. And not only we saying this, I mean, the people across the pond are saying this. And I want you to listen to this young man. This young man couldn't have said it any better. Let's listen to this and then we'll take it on the other side.
Europe is laughing at America. It's like watching the worst season finale since Game of Thrones. Shut up. Shut up. Europe is not laughing at America. Every single European who has a scrap of intelligence and political integrity woke up this morning feeling sick to their stomach. We are not laughing at America. We are looking at America as though they are in a mental health crisis that we can do nothing to help. We are looking at America in shock and in horror and in disgust, because they would rather put a convicted felon into the White House than a woman. I can remember sitting in my kitchen on January the 6th, watching as smoke billowed around the Capitol building and people ran up the stairs with zip ties, ready to take hostages in one of the most politically important buildings in the world. And the man who was responsible for all of it, who incited all of it, has just been re-elected. A man who has spoken highly of Hitler has just been re-elected. A man who is a felon, a liar and a cheat has just been re-elected. The impact of this will be felt globally and will be in history books for time immemorial. We will look back on this time in absolute horror and disgust. But unlike the 1940s and 30s in Europe, we cannot possibly allow America to sit there and say they did not see what was about to happen coming. America saw what is about to happen and has decided that they do not care. And there are millions upon millions of Americans sat in their homes right now, terrified for their futures, terrified for their families, their colleagues, their friends, and their children's futures. Because the whole lot of it just went up in smoke. Women's rights are going to be backpedaled to Victorian and Dickensian times. The horrors that this is about to unleash will be felt by everyone regardless of who you voted for. If you voted for Trump, you will soon realize what you've done when your wife lays dying on an operating table, pregnant, and there is nothing that they can do. This will be felt by everyone, and slowly but surely, the penny is going to drop into the one brain cell that seems to be collectively shared by America as a general population, and the horror will truly set in. This man has no intention of ever leaving that White House. What is about to happen is unpredictable, but not one bit of it is going to be good. This is a man who believes that climate change is a hoax. This is a man who believes in strong men and so is perfectly willing for Putin to storm into Ukraine and take a country that does not belong to him. This is a man who thinks that that is strength. He is a liar, he is a cheat, and he is a coward. We are not looking at America laughing. We are looking at America in embarrassment and in absolute fucking shame. And if you're not, and you're one of these amoebas that somehow thinks that what has just happened is good, then there is no hope for you. You are beyond hope. I am done with believing that there is hope for some people. There is not. The education systems around you have failed you. And you have been allowed yourself to be indoctrinated into a cult of hatred, of segregation, and of complete and utter horror. Your hero is a cheat. He is a liar. He's a fraudster. And he will see absolute devastation ripple across this entire planet. And if you are stupid enough to be sat in Europe, anywhere, giggling away, thinking that this is some sort of circus that you just get to watch, you just wait. Wait until the global economic impacts of what has just happened set in. Just wait. Because you will not be laughing for long. No one will be laughing for long, and that includes America. I have got so many friends who are in America. I've got so many American friends, and I'm terrified for them. I'm terrified for the world, but I'm specifically terrified for them. Because what is about to happen will be completely unheard of. Kamala Harris was one of the most qualified candidates for president that the United States has ever seen. And instead, you elected a rambling buffoon who believes that Hannibal Lecter, a fictional serial killer, is an asylum seeker. You elected a complete moron who believes that shining a light up yourself will cure COVID, that drinking bleach will cure COVID, that suggested to the world that that was a good idea. This man is a fool. An absolute fool. And he is representing one of the most powerful countries on the world stage for the next 4 years at least. But we all know he intends to be there far longer than that. Your freedoms just imprisoned you. It's disgusting. Disgusting.
Now, amazing, isn't it? It is amazing what this young man has to say. And, you know, he represents the feelings throughout Europe, and that is just the citizens. Think about what the heads of states believe. Think about what they're thinking about right now. No longer is America trustworthy. I mean, after all, if they can elect somebody who attempted to overthrow their government, if they can elect somebody who raped women, if they can elect somebody who lies like he does, if they can elect somebody who steals, if they can elect somebody who does all those things, why then should the rest of the world have any faith in us? It's time to make other alliances. Watch the rise of BRICS. You know why? You know that Donald Trump is scared? Because you see the threat he gave on people that are going to try to form that new currency with BRICS. Well, you know what? The faith lost because of our election of a thug, of a criminal, a convicted felon. It's likely that it'll give more impetus to, yes, create another currency, as we are proven, our citizens, not our leadership, not all of our leadership, but our citizens have proven that they would allow their sexism and their racism to have them put somebody into office that's unqualified and a clear and present danger to the world. Why would anyone have unlimited faith in us as they did before? It's gone. We sold that.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Absolutely so, folks. Join our program. And how can you do that rather quickly? Become a paid subscriber of our newsletter. I ask you so kindly. Let's see. How do you do that again? To become a paid subscriber of our newsletter, simply go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. And if you do that, you get all the access for that. And guess what? Yesterday, I sent out a link for a 25% discount on that already cheap way to get our newsletter. And that's what I'm going to put on the screen. Now, I forgot to pull it out before, so bear with me as I search for it, because, you know, sometimes it takes me a little while to search for that. So I'm going to go ahead now and get that special link for, let's see if I can find it. I can find it. I know I can find that 25% Given Tuesday offer. So here is the link for the Given Tuesday offer to become a member of our newsletter, a subscriber. That is egberto.substack.com/Given Tuesday. You get a special, I think it expires on December 6th. That is egberto.substack.com/Given Tuesday. egberto.substack.com/Given Tuesday. Please click on it, become a subscriber. And you know what? That allows you to read all of my books free of charge, both my current books and my subsequent books. You'll be able to read it charge. We're going to be doing live video on Substack as well. You'll have full access to that as well. So there's a lot of perks that we give for you to become a member, a paid member of our newsletter, Egberto Off the Record. So I ask you so kindly, please go ahead and become a member of our Substack newsletter. That is at egberto.substack.com/Given Tuesday. Thank you so kindly, guys. I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.